everyone. This is Linda Castillo with Modern Latina, and I'm super excited to be here today in honor of Latina Equal Pay Day. We are going to be talking about some things that we can do and tapping into our Latina superpowers. But let me just give you a little bit of some of the stats that we have and what we're working with. We are paid 52 cents for all earners in comparison for every dollar paid to a white man, a white non-Hispanic man, 57 cents for full-time year-round workers. And this one is going to make your jaw drop because it made my jaw drop. According to the National Women's Law Center, the wage gap shortages for Latinas with professional degrees is nearly 2.5 million over the span of a 40-year career compared to non-Hispanic men with similar education. This is like astounding to me. It's just craziness. So I'm super excited to be here today to talk about how we can really close that wage gap for Latinas. And I'm happy to introduce Leena Mendoza. So Leena Mendoza is the founder of Intentional Leadership. She's a business coach who guides entrepreneurial leaders to create, establish, and launch their business. She's a highly sought after for her ability to help others from idea to implementation, to clarify the vision of their business and to hold them accountable. When leading a team with vision, she shares the importance of aligning your purpose, setting goals, strategic planning, and developing collaborative partnership for business growth. She has a successful track record of guiding others to reach their full potential. And what I love this next part, Leena, is that you're a proud mother who believes that it is her most important role. She believes that being a hero in your home first is where leadership begins. She's committed to developing entrepreneurial and executive leaders of excellence and integrity by providing the training necessary for personal, professional, and purposeful growth. She founded Intentional Leadership to motivate thousands of people to take charge of their life and live intentionally. She holds a MS in counseling, a BS in health science, and a minor in gerontology and criminology. Please help me welcome Leena. So happy to be here today. And
thank you, Linda. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here, but also proud and very passionate. And so I think also I share that because as Latinos, we always say like humbled, right? But we should also recognize that we worked very hard to get here. And so, and that is something I want to definitely kind of inspire as we continue to have this conversation. Thank you so much for offering this platform.
Yes, no, thank you. So I started the call with some really jaw-dropping facts about where we're at. And, we've progressed in so many different areas, but I just wanted to talk with you to better understand, what are some of the key factors contributed to the pay gap for Latina women, and how do they differ from those affecting other demographic groups?
A great question. So we have cultural drivers, and so I'm currently in the El Puente Institute, which is very timely because I'm learning about how being Latina and also being in corporate America, how we don't know how to put, kind of have that balance. And so whether you've been raised to be in a machista household or the Latina empowerment, where does that play when it comes to corporate America? And also because we are very communal, right? So la comunidad, but even in our own home, we may be taking care of a grandparent or a parent, as well as our own children or grandchildren, right? So there may be kind of a sandwich opportunity there where you're taking care of someone older, someone younger, and then also managing and navigating through the corporate landscape. Additionally, what does that look like, right? And so because we are already maybe making more money than our parents, we just feel so grateful for that opportunity rather than really doing the research, identifying our self-worth and saying, you know what, I have worked hard for this opportunity and I deserve that paycheck as well as that promotion and that level of leadership. And so, because we still want to have that humble spirit. And so something I share very consistently is that humble is in your heart. It is not in corporate America. And so how we show up and show out will look a lot different.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot to unpack. Thank you, Leena. And one of the things that's on top of my mind right now is the upcoming, voting and what we can do to take action with legislation. So we've made some strides with legislation, but is there anything that we can be looking forward, like looking out for or see on the radar that's coming to place that would help close this wage gap?
Absolutely. So a wage gap. So as you shared earlier, we really have to understand like how much Latinas get paid for, like we would have to work all year long till today to have an equal pay as our white male counterpart. So they get that check day one, we get that check day, equivalent on October 5th. That's a lot of work, a lot of energy, a lot of échale con ganas, right? And so I want to refer us to the website. So www.equalpayday.org/Latina Equal Pay. And so that we're keeping track of what's going out there for legislature. So currently we have two. And so one is the Paycheck Fairness Act. And so it's really also talking about the prior salary history, and it also codifies the pay data collection. So here in California, your pay is public because we want transparency so that we can see what's happening with our counterparts and that there's fairness, right, in the compensation offer. Secondly is also raising the Wage Act of 2023. And so urging that we support the Wage Act. And so that we are aiming to have the federal minimum wage to be $17 by the hour by 2028. And so, and also raising what is covered by the Fair Labor Standards Act. And so if you're not familiar, so some of us may not even know what the current, wage gap or hourly wage is, depending on your zip code or your county. But we want to raise that because if you look at, so I don't know about you, Linda, but my eggs were $2.98. I recall it very carefully. I mean, $2.98 before COVID. And then in COVID, I think I spent as much as I think $9 or $10 for an 18 pack of eggs. And so I think it's gone down quite a bit since then. But I mean, that's not even a 50%. That's almost like triple the price, right? And so did your salary triple, right?
Yeah.
And so, right. And so 30 to 40% increase in what we're, as you see, prices from gas, groceries, rent, mortgage, right? Everything. So has your salary increased by 30%? I mean, that's a lot to go. And so there's a big divide there. And so it continues to get bigger.
Yeah. And I think we're all feeling that crunch on the wallet, with gas, going to the grocery stores. And you're right. Our salaries aren't keeping up to the rising costs. That's for sure. I wanted to, there was something that you mentioned about, how we're juggling different roles, whether we're caretakers for our parents, having little ones, and then all the various things we do outside of our work, maybe we are on the PTO. And, as we're juggling these different roles and responsibilities, it comes with a lot of stress and we tend to burn out. And so I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about, how does self-care relate to the Latina, pay and wage gap? And then what can we do for eliminating or helping with that stress in our life and giving ourselves some self-care?
Absolutely. So we both talked about the Latina DNA, right? And so we're at home, we're cooking, we're cleaning, we're painting the house, to also then managing stuff in the workforce. And so that's a lot. That's like literally almost like 2 full-time jobs, if not 3, depending on how many roles and responsibilities you have. And so it's very important that we fill our cup up first and really start to exercise that and start sharing that, not with only the generation that is coming after us, but also to remind our elders to do that as well. And so because we are a culture and a comunidad that believes in taking care of others, right? Like feeding our family, making sure everybody has what they need, the community. So not only do we think about who's in our house, but we think about our neighbors. We think about what's happening in the community, our church, so whatever our community looks like. That's the difference with the Latino community. We're very communal. So it's not just a husband, wife, or partnership and children. It's also grandparents, and then again, church, or, if you belong to a committee or community membership, PTA, any of those, then you're also I'm fundraising. So there's all these different things so resting is super important. So here's something I say very consistently: health is wealth. I remember paying over $100 just on over-the-counter drugs. And I thought, oh my gosh, who can afford that? That's insane. And whether you can or you can't, that's very expensive. And it's only getting higher, right? So how your sleep hygiene also, and we talk about self-care, but self-care is different things. It could be hiking, it could be fitness, it could be just sitting down, it could be Netflix, it could be journaling. It's really what it is for you. And so some people do cook or bake, and it's for that self-care, but and that's kind of a slow process. So whatever self-care means to you, it's very important that we do that as hopefully every day if we can.
100% agree. I mean, I try to, when I have time, between, at work, take a walk, listen to a podcast, and it makes such a difference. I feel like I'm able to think more clearly, not so overwhelmed, that feeling of anxiety. So couldn't agree with you more. I did want to talk to you a little bit about something that you mentioned. You said, Latinos, we want to take care of our families. There's a lot of unique characteristics and values that come with being a Latina. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how we can kind of tap into those Latina superpowers, I'm going to call them, and, and how they can translate into the workplace and beyond. So if you want to delve into that a little bit.
Absolutely. So as we talk about community, right, so maybe you're part of the PTA, and so you fundraise, and then you also bring more comadres, right? So you're like, oh, like maybe some other moms aren't involved. And so that's because we're communal, we're la comunidad, right? And so we love to make our circle bigger. We love to bring people closer. So how do we translate in that to corporate America, right? So providing diversity, equity, inclusion. It's also the leadership abilities, effective communication, being able to create culture and a positive work environment. So we really want to amplify our Latina superpowers in a positive way, right? And so are you a Latino who does empowerment, right? So you're an encourager. So that's a leadership, being able to motivate your team, being able to identify what's holding them back and what's not. And so all the things that you do, right? All your échale con ganas mode is like the superpowers we bring to the workforce. And so it's really important that we identify those in that corporate landscape in those terms. And so why I say that is because it's very normal for us to, right, bring out the pinol, the pine sol, and clean. And so that in corporate landscape will translate to being less than, right? Or then you like to clean up the mess. And so as leaders, right, we really want to bring that thought leadership. What are we thinking? What are the decision making? And what are the critical skills that we are able to bring to the table? And as Latinos, we have all that and more, because we can build a house from the ground up and DIY and make that happen.
Love that. Yes, love that. So 100% true. And I wanted to shift a little bit and talk about scarcity and abundancy and our mindsets, and how sometimes we can limit ourselves. So we know we've got it, we can do it. Like you said, we can get the job done, but sometimes there's that, that little voice that says, oh, the doubts that we have. And so as a coach yourself, what kind of things that are you hearing? And then what can we do to make sure that we're kind of putting those aside and following through on our goals and our dreams?
So scarcity mindset, so one thing I will share is, like, on the positive side, it's growth mindset, right? Is think of the possibilities, the opportunities, ways to create things. And then the scarcity or the fixed mindset is where there's not enough, you can't do it, I don't know how, or even you might say things like, I am stupid, right? And so really leaning towards the positive side, like opportunity, growth, what did I learn? And so sharing, we do have that, because we maybe make tortillas and we made a dozen and we split it half and we share with our neighbor, and we don't see it as like, oh no, if I don't share, I'm not going to have enough food. And so leaning into how we have shared for the community, leaning into how you have grown, right? And so if you're experiencing a negativity from like family or maybe some friends who are not on that growth path, then you have to reinforce that for yourself, saying, I'm stretching myself, I'm out of my comfort zone, I'm learning something new. And so you're in charge of your own growth mindset. And so being able to continue to enforce that. And so what I like to do is remind people, Latinas, like, get a bigger purse, because there's more opportunity for you. Don't bring the clutch, bring a bigger bag.
Yes, love that. And we carry some big bags with lots of stuff in it, so we can definitely do that. That's for sure. I'm always carrying my mom bag around, and I have like paper clips, tape. I mean, who knows what else is in there? But yes, we can
Totally
definitely bring it. So one of the things that, I think, looking back in my own personal career, and getting your first job, I feel like, in hindsight, I'm like, wow, I really should have negotiated harder. And I just think that this is something that, for especially young Latinas getting into starting the workforce, and even Latinas in our current roles now, negotiating raises, that is a really great way for us to reduce this wage gap that we're seeing. But how do we, what are some key strategies around that? How do we even get started, or, with going on that interview and getting that first offer, or approaching your boss for a raise? So can you share with us some key strategies that we can bring to the table for that?
Absolutely. So making a list or a brag book. So knowing, so you want to know what you have done well in the last quarter, in the last few years, talking to past supervisor, a mentor, someone on your team who says, oh, you really do great at bringing the team together, or you're really great at high levels of execution, or you're really great when it comes to complex projects. And so when someone else is telling you that, but you're not sharing that, it's really important that you translate that very well, right? So I'm going, oh, not saying, oh, I just fix the problems. Well, say what that is, right? It's a $30 million project. I was able to execute that in less than 6 months, on time, on schedule, and with this keeping the scope of work, right? Or whatever the case may be. So it's also so knowing about your skill set, and then also do your research to know what your kind of industry is paying. And you'll find that it's depending, it could be government, could be corporate, but knowing what those salary ranges are, like glassdoor.com is a great resource, and salary.com. Awesome. So I think we may have lost Linda, but that's okay. And so really, I really want to drive this home that we are very encouraged to, to make sure that we are giving the tips, the tools, and the techniques for Latinas to really be confident about the salary negotiation. So do your homework, right? Also identify your skill set and what you know, or what you have, your competencies, right? And so you take the competencies to use that for your compensation. And get a mentor, get someone to ask for help. Do not do this by yourself. We have a tendency to get nervous around money. And so I want to encourage us, instead of saying like, I'm equal money, is that you become the money. And so, and again, it's growth mindset, right? And so it's very important that you know your worth, but also that you practice stating that. So it's not just something you believe or you're confident. It's like you practicing, you are certain you are at that level. And get some help around that. And so you can practice on a video, get a coach. You can get into a community like Leena Latinas. You can join a Modern Latina to really help you with your confidence and kind of leveling up in those different areas.
Oh my gosh, such great tips, Leena. I had to pop in and pop off real quick just because I had some problems with my computer. So I'm on my phone now.
That works.
Yeah. So no, but thank you for recapping the tips there as well. And these are great things we can take away. Beyond strategies for negotiation, what are some proactive things that we can do, or key takeaways that we can do for ourselves that, get off this call. Hey, I'm going to do this tomorrow. What are some of the things that we can start doing to make sure that we are increasing our pay and getting what we deserve to be paid?
I'm going to tell you something. And so I think I shared with you prior. And so you have to let go of what, like, I should be thankful. You are thankful, right? But you also deserve growth and opportunity. Yes, you're grateful. I'm grateful for food. I'm grateful for my house. But also, are you grateful for the skills that have, so the term that says your gifts will make room for you. Let them know, like, you're grateful to have me. Like, this is all that I do. And say that. Say, I've done all this, and be very confident. Again, practice that. I shared that I lost $280,000 because I was grateful and I was in a safe job so that my son could have benefits. And actually calculated earlier, and it felt worse to me because it was a $34,000 increase times 11 years. Because I was like, you know what? I think I didn't calculate the year that I started, because I had all those skills day one. That's $374,000. That's a whole house where I was from. So two, depending on the price. Right?
That's a lot.
It is a lot. And guess what? Right. So this is where the gap comes in, right? Because we're not being paid. So here we are, you and I are working till October the 5th, right? All Latinas, so that we can get paid equally to our counterpart who got that paid day one, and they haven't, but we're in échale mode and tired.
Yeah, for sure. So What about, is there any tests or anything online that we can do or to assess ourselves? I think when we were preparing, we talked about the positive intelligence test. Maybe you can share a little bit about what that is and how our audience can go online and look for that. And I can definitely put the link in the comments as well.
Absolutely. So what I shared was letting go of being grateful, right? So that we feel like, well, I'm grateful, so I don't want to ask for more money. So once you let that go, you start to do your research, right? So so something we shared in the conversation is like, what kind of assessments can kind of clue us into what's holding us back? And so there's something called the positiveintelligence.com. And so it's an assessment that talks about your saboteurs. Are you a procrastinator? Are you a stickler? Are you hyper, where you're kind of really fearful around like accidents happening. And so it has 9 saboteurs. And as Latinos, we may have several. I mean, people in general. And so it'll identify your top ones in order, but you want to look at your top 3. And so it's not because you're like, oh, I am a procrastinator, I'm terrible. Go, oh, I'm a procrastinator. I think that brings some fear. So the strategy is then go, I'm going to prepare 5 hours, not 1. Right. So really embracing the saboteurs. Maybe someone told you, like, how you're always asking for too much, like, oh my God, you're constantly doing something. And it's like, so then you're like, oh, should I be humble? Well, you're humble, but you then practice 5 hours so you can be prepared.
Yeah. Love that. Well, if this conversation has went really fast, I feel like did you want to share anything else, Leena, that you would love us to walk away with?
Absolutely. So, Linda, I love that we have been working on this for some time because you and I have our own stories, right? Working with family, working with children, right? Managing our household, managing our mental health, doing well in the corporate space, and then still managing our side projects, right? And so, and it's just really edifying ourselves or affirming, like, good job. Like, oh, you didn't do anything today, you rested, good job, right? Did you try today? Good job. And so we have to be the person who says good job, for our own mental health. And so people are hobbling, not everybody's living their best life as we want to believe in social media. And so please aim to not necessarily compare yourself to, like, oh my gosh, she has it together. That may not be true, right? Because I'll tell you, more than 50% of the leaders that I've talked to this year have the stories that we do. Oh my gosh, I'm going to quit. I hate it here. My boss is crazy. And I'm like, whoa, like, according to LinkedIn, you're doing fabulous. And so it came out today that there's there was, the quitters, right? And there was all these different kind of terms coming out of COVID. And so they're calling the gloom session now. So now people are really going, I'm very unhappy. And so what makes you unhappy about where you're at? And then identifying what that is. And so I've heard some people say, I realize I'm losing $30,000. Like, I can get paid a lot more. Yeah. Right. And so that makes them unhappy because they're like, I'm working for nothing. It makes sense. Right. And so that research, start to read. I just say the word read, look at. And so if it makes you uncomfortable, then you're looking at the right job description, because if it's comfortable, that means you already know it. So, and then look at the salaries and then start asking people, start talking to people so that you're using your comadre network or your compadres to learn that level of competency and true information. So that's going to help you get to the next level. And then start doing some informational interviews to help you start practicing the negotiation and start practicing how you speak and when you speak. So I know we have introverts. Those are the ones too that also I think, oh my gosh, they're the more powerful ones because they don't say anything for the whole hour and they say 2 sentences at the end and the whole entire room moves. And so that's a Latina power too, right? They're like, oh no, she's analytical. And so really leaning into those gifts that you have in your Latina superpowers, how you take care of your family, how you take care of your community, how you take care of your corporate space. If you ask any of your counterparts, they do not do 50% of that. They're like, oh my God, I need to take a nap after you said that, right? Like, oh my girl, you're doing too much. And so remind you, just take a break and rest, and then find that space where you can have that self-care. And so whatever that means, a 15-minute walk, spa day, whatever that means to you, and so, but really being intentional about that. And so I name my program Intentional Leadership around that, because it's not if, it's when, right? And it's being intentional about how you design and create your life moving forward.
Leena, if someone wants to reach out and get in contact with you to talk to you a little bit more about coaching with you or just some of the takeaways you have mentioned here today, how can they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So I'm at LeenaMendoza.com, also LinkedIn at Leena Mendoza, and TikTok and Instagram, Leena Mendoza, and Facebook, Leena Mendoza. And so we can collaborate, we can also connect and communicate and have these kinds of conversations and advocacy. And so my commitment that I made from the Leena conference, Leena and Latinas, was having $1 million impact in the Latina community, advancing women in their economic empowerment.
Oh my gosh, that's the best way to end this session today. I just want to say thank you again, Leena. And I do want to just mention that, you know, today we are among many allies and other organizations that are really spreading the word out there today about Latina Equal Pay Day. Several other events will be taking place. So I encourage everyone to go out there and look at Leena and Latinas, We All Grow Latinas, Hope. We have ACE online, Mujeres program. So there's so many resources out there, ladies. So please do take advantage of this. You're not alone. We are here together. Together we're stronger. So again, thank you all for joining today. And have a, continue to get there, amplify Latinas this day, amplify it out there in social media. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Leena. Bye-bye.
Thank you.